non-secretive. The process of spiritual growth is exactly the same as the process of life. And there is absolutely no difference. In the Gita, there's a line when they ask Krishna, which is the greater way, the path of activity and service or the path of contemplation and renunciation? And the line is so beautiful. He says, in essence, 'tis the new scholar, 'tis the beginner who sees a difference in these two. Those who know they are one. Oh, so deep. How can that which appears to be an inner contemplative releasing, renouncing of life or the world be exactly the same as opening, living, experiencing, embracing the process of life? In the end, the Gita says both roads lead to the same place. In order to go deep enough to see the unity of these two paths, you have to understand that it's all about the seat of consciousness. If you understand and see that you, the real you, is the part that watches everything, that sees everything, that experiences everything. It sees the play and the dance and the outer movement of form passing before you. You see it. You see boys and girls and houses and cars and rain and snow and light and darkness. And someone experiences all that. Someone is aware that these objects of form are passing before its consciousness. You then see that inside, if you get quiet and you pay attention, that you have friends in there with you. Emotions and thoughts. They talk to you, keep you company, so you don't get bored. And they're just there, and they say things to you. You know, like, where are we going to go today? And I don't know, I don't like that, well, I like this. And they just kind of talk a little bit, just a little. And you are aware of that. You hear your thoughts, you notice this. This is something that you are aware of. If you were not aware, then there wouldn't be a problem with thoughts, because you wouldn't even know you had them. And you feel rushes of energy, and you feel love, and you feel hatred, and you feel insecurity, and you feel strength, and you feel happy, and you feel sad, and all sorts of feelings and vibrations change in your inner being. Someone's aware of this. Someone is aware. Do you ever get angry? Yeah. How do you know? Who experiences that? Who experiences that? Who watches anger come up? It doesn't take long to notice that the same one who watches the heart start to beat faster, who notices the stomach start to secrete acid, who feels the tension go on in the shoulders, there's someone noticing this process, is the same one who notices the heart open and love come up and energy start emanating out towards somebody. You do know when you love somebody or you dislike somebody. How do you know? Because you are in there noticing. Just pay attention to notice that that one who notices anger and notices love and notices jealousy and notices defensiveness and insecurity is exactly the one who notices boys and girls and trees and rain and snow. There's just one noticer. The minute you see this, the instant you have that realization that yes, you are in there and you are noticing the inner and the outer things, now the paths merge. Now they're the same. If what the path is about is consciousness, is noticing the noticer, is being aware that you are aware that you are aware that you notice, then what difference does it make whether you're noticing fear, insecurity, love, or jealousy, or cars and boats and planes? It's the same. So all of a sudden the inside and the outside merge. And this is the essence of the true spiritual path. There is no difference, because what matters is not what you're feeling, but who's noticing your feelings. If anyone teaches you that you should purify your thoughts, they should go meditate more. What you should do is notice your pure and impure thoughts. If someone tells you should only feel love and you should never feel any animosity or anything toward anybody or anything, and you should love all creatures equally, And whether you see a roach or a beautiful thing, you should feel the same thing. Then they need to go meditate more. Because you should notice your feeling of love, and you should notice your feeling of disdain, and you should notice your feeling of fear, and you should notice your feeling of comfort and safety, and notice that you are the one who's noticing all these things. If you spend your life playing with objects, you won't get very far. That's like people who decide that what spirituality is all about is, I better be careful, is moving out to the woods and isolating oneself and building a cottage somewhere and setting up a spiritual setting and, doing all that stuff. And then you're spiritual. Just look. You know how you can tell you're spiritual? Look at the books on your bookshelf. You look at your clothes. Look at where you live. Look at, it's sort of like spiritual becomes an outer thing. It becomes a manifestation of you. How did you paint that outside world? And if you painted it in a spiritual way, then you must be spiritual. It's not that. It's like somebody who decides to take up bowling. They buy the shoes, they buy the ball, they buy the bag, they buy the shirt, they buy the clothes, they join the league. I mean, you got it. And golf, you do the same thing. And meditation, you spiritually do the same thing. You just get the stuff. And whoever's got the best stuff and doing it and consistent, they're perfectly consistent with it, that's it. Then they are the best meditator. They are the best spiritual doobie. Well, it's funny to laugh at that, but why is it any different if I say that about the inside? So now I redecorated my outside to be spiritual, now I have to redecorate my inside. So on my Christmas tree of thoughts, what are my thoughts supposed to be? They're supposed to be about God, and they're supposed to be like this, and they're supposed to be like that, and they're not supposed to be any bad ones, they're supposed to be good ones, and don't swear whatever you do, alright? And it's like this, and like that, and don't think of this, and don't think of that, and don't ever have any sort of wandering thoughts or anything. Just get them all the way they're supposed to be. And what is my heart supposed to be? Oh, it's only supposed to feel this, and not supposed to feel this, and it's like that. And so you decorate the inside exactly the same as you decorated the outside. Do you hear me? You paint that inside any way you want. And as long as you, the being, who notices whether the inside is this way or that way, whether the outside is this or that way, is still involved in making it one way or another, that is not what spirituality is. Spirituality is not about the form of things. It's about the spirit of things. When it's all said and done, what spirituality is about is the one who notices all this stuff, is the holder and emanator and the source of the will that is being used to manipulate the outer world and the inner world. That place is the same place. It all comes from the same place. And spirituality is about that. It comes from spirit. If you are using spirit to rearrange your outer world to look spiritual, that's like trying to dress yourself in a mirror. And I mean dress the mirror, or make yourself look better by touching up the mirror. If spirit is leaving itself and then manipulating that which is not itself to look like itself, you ain't never going to get there. That's called pseudo-spiritualism. That's what that is. But the net result is, if that which is spirit, which is conscious will, essence, being, of which all inner force emanates from, if it is projected away from itself, out into that which is not itself, and attempts to dress that to look like itself, tell me, no matter how well you do, it will not be yourself. Right? And you will end up drawing yourself further and further away from where you're really going. So when you really go deep, you catch on that it is not about manipulating with the power of your will. It is about finding the source of your will. It is about checking out, and only you can do it. No book will help you, nothing. It is about checking out what part of you is aware of what's going on in there. What part of you is aware of what's going on outside. There will be a tremendous tendency to do something about it the moment you notice it. Even if you listen to what I'm saying and you notice, my God, I did that. I got pictures of gurus all over the wall. I did it. I painted the outside. There it is, painted. Okay, I see. All right, I'll take them all down. No, same. Up, down, same. Understand? So what are you going to do? Walk away from here saying, oh, now I know what spiritual looks like, is you don't have any spiritual things around. See? You're very zen. That's what spiritual looks like. All right? It's like that story of the Buddhist with the shoes. He was a Buddhist, and the Buddhists walking, they're supposed to be so conscious, right? And they used to put their shoes before they went in the temple perfectly placed in perfect order, right? And all of a sudden one guy came, right? And he just threw his shoes down, spin them all over the place. And they all decided that this guy got off the path and so on, but his master realized, no, he had gotten past that. So then they all went and started throwing their shoes around. So you see, the placing of shoes or the not placing of shoes are both acts of doership. They're both acts of thinking that you know what it's supposed to look like. Now we're going to go very deep. The thought that you're supposed to decide what it's supposed to look like, outside and inside, and then make it be that way, that is the only non-spiritual thought you will ever have. How's that? All right? That is the only thing that can trap you and catch you. Eventually you catch on, it is not about the arrangement or not arrangement of things, outside or inside. It is about being aware of the one that is aware of what is going on. And now we get back to where we started. You can be aware that you're aware of cars, you can be aware that you're aware of people, you can be aware that you're aware of weather. Fine, so those things can help you. They are good focuses and reminders of awareness of being. You can be aware that you're aware of negative thoughts. You can be aware that you're aware of positive thoughts. You can be aware that you're aware of hatred. You can be aware that you're aware of love. You can be aware that you're aware of both at the same time for the same person. Very complex in there. Please don't touch it. It's like fly paper. Just to put your hands on it, it gets very, very sticky. All right? You can be aware, can't you? And you catch on that they are the same. So this is why the Gita said what it said. It is the same to the one who is truly on the path. Objects of awareness remind one that they are aware. How else would you know that you saw the object? And that is the only purpose of the object. It's a cue card. It's a flash card, like in math. They throw them up. Every object that comes before you, the very fact that you are aware that you notice the object reminds you that you are aware, that there is awareness. And it becomes a constant push back into the self. What does? Everything. Outer, inner. Good, bad. Right, wrong. Up, down. Truth of the matter is, it's good that there's duality. Why? You want to know what you're least aware of? That which is permanently consistent. That which has no change, you're least aware of. They say that the fish doesn't know it's in water. It's never been out. Okay? You don't know. You can't see the trees from the forest. It's that sort of thing. So if all you ever did was feel exactly the same emotions, you finally achieved the Zen state. You had the exact same and the same thought. All right? And there was nothing else going on. There was only that. You might not be reminded to go back to the self. You might not be reminded constantly that you are the one who's hearing the Om. That you are the one who's feeling the joy. You know, Meher Baba once said that he wasn't impressed when people went into ecstasy and samadhi. I said, whoa, how do you not be impressed with samadhi? I thought it was all about samadhi. If you are still hanging out with objects, and even the flow of the energy is something the self is aware of. Even joy, which is the highest vibration. Notice it's still subject-object. You are aware of joy. Well, I was feeling joy, but then I felt pain, but I got back to the joy. Who did? Who's noticing this? Now you're going very deep. So the fact that you're lucky enough, that you're blessed enough to not be in one of these high states, and you have all these variety of emotions and variety of thoughts, don't you? You have a veritable smorgasbord going on all day, and that you don't live in some Zen monastery where everything is exactly the same and nothing changes and there's no colors, but instead there's all this outer stuff that you become aware of. You become aware of loud noises, you become aware of silence, and because of all this, it's true, you know, it's the highest state. You don't have to be anywhere. has nothing to do with your clothes. It has nothing to do with where you live. It has nothing to do with who you're with. It has nothing to do with anything. It has to do with, is it all reminding you that you are noticing it? And you will see that varied experiences actually help wake you up. And that's why this world is part of your growth. That is its purpose. It is stimulus response. It is a teacher to you if you learn properly. Because it's only there to remind you that you're there. And all of your thoughts are there, not to punish you, and not so you can get rid of them. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. What's wrong with thoughts? They're a part of the universe. What, do you want to get rid of the stars? You want to get rid of the moon? What part do you want to get rid of? You're dangerous. It was all here before you got here. It will all be here after you leave. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. There's nothing wrong with feelings. They are supposed to remind you that you are the one who notices them. Eventually you will see there's nothing to do about them. Now, if you try to sit in this state, you will feel a tendency of doership. The moment you notice somebody move, the moment you notice something happen, the moment you notice a thought, the moment you notice an emotion, watch what happens. It pulls the consciousness out of awareness toward the object of awareness. All right? You hear a noise. What happens to your consciousness? It goes out toward the noise. A thought comes. What happens to your consciousness? It goes out toward the thought. You start to feel love. What happens to your consciousness? Is it not attracted toward the object? It's so beautiful to watch. The objects are all the same. And your reaction to the objects in general is all the same. You leave the self to go down to the objects. Inner objects, outer objects, same. Clean objects, dirty objects, same. What you have to learn, and what the process of life is teaching you, and what true spirituality is that there's no place to go. You don't have to leave the self because a thought comes. You don't have to leave the self because an emotion emanates from your heart. The emotion can take care of itself. You don't have to leave the self because a noise happens. The noise has nothing to do with you. The noise would have been there whether you heard it or not. So noise happens, awareness, noise, calming, gone. You stay in the self. You didn't not hear the noise, but you didn't leave the self to go out to the noise. Listen carefully. This is the essence of it. Eventually what will happen is the flow of energy, of Shakti, of Chi, will become so centered, so strong inside of you, that it will all flow up effortlessly. It will just all flow up like rising waters. In order for your consciousness to leave that flow, you will feel it pull against that flow of energy. So if you hear a noise and you're in the energy flow, because it sucks you into it, everything gets pulled in an energy flow. That's the center. If you are in that flow and you hear a noise, you can either sit in the flow and the noise will come and go, or you can sit in the flow and you will feel the flow get pulled on, like jerked on, to be pulled out toward the noise. Surely you've seen it. It may not be all the time, but you've seen that experience. Same thing with a sight. The same thing with a thought. The same thing with emotion. In order to get involved in those objects, you must leave the self. You must leave the subject to get involved in the object. But you don't have to leave the subject to be aware of the object. Awareness is a totally natural thing. You're going to be aware. You were aware before you decided to leave to go touch it. Awareness is something that is just natural. It happens because you are aware. But there's nothing to do about being aware. That's where it all comes down to, is one sits within the center of consciousness, with the eyes wide open, with the mind free to be, with the heart free to express whatever naturally takes place, but no one leaves because of any of it. And the dance of the world is free to take place. Noises, this, not noises, anything. Imagine, listen to me. You now have become who you are. You are the one who's noticing creation. You didn't make creation. It was all here before you got here, and it really has nothing to do with you. not the thoughts, not the feelings, not the form. They're just all a system of cause and effect that are all creating each other. It's just a phenomenal, phenomenal system of creation. And you are aware of it. Everything just is. It was, it is, and it will be. And you have a moment of time in which your consciousness is aware of a fraction of it. That's all that's happening. Nobody asked you to change it. Nobody asked you to be in charge of it. Nobody asked you to do anything except enjoy the experience of what you're seeing, of what's happening. So this clue of getting drawn out toward it, do you notice that? Look how quickly somebody says something and how much activity happens inside of you. Somebody says a word, somebody lifts a finger, somebody looks at you. That's all they have to do is look at you. The minute they could have been looking at you for 10 minutes, but you were talking or looking at them. Now listen carefully. They've been staring at you, looking at you with some weird look. Okay? But you haven't been looking at them. Okay? So nothing happened. All of a sudden, for 1 second, you stop talking to somebody else, you turn this way. Ah! You see them looking at you. I wish you could notice how much happens at that point. All kinds of thoughts start spewing and emotions start taking place and your whole body language changes and all kinds of things happen because you noticed that somebody was looking at you, but they were always looking at you. What is that? What makes that happen? I'm telling you, if when you notice them looking at you, you don't go out toward that, it will not happen. I want to talk about meditation. You can't talk about meditation. We get close. That's the clue right there. I'm telling you, you can turn and notice that she's looking at you. You're here, you turn, you see her looking at you. You're aware of that. You turn back. I'm telling you, no thoughts will be created. No disturbance will happen inside. So it is not true that because she's looking at you, it creates disturbance. That is not true. First of all, I told you she was already looking at you, right? So you can't say it's because she's looking at you, and you can't even say it's because you noticed her looking at you. Because I'm telling you, you can notice, and nothing will happen. So what is it that created all that commotion? It is because the power of the self, which is the only power that's in there, left its seat of consciousness and emanated out to try and touch or get closer to this looking thing. It tried to actually touch it. Just like you go out toward the sound. You went out toward the looking thing. That projection of force, of the power of will, the power of self, directing out toward that, when it passed through, stirred up the mental and emotional vrittis, forms. It was like throwing a rock in the water that was still. Not the fact that she was looking, and not the fact that you noticed her looking, but the fact that you went out toward the looking. All right? So it was you that created the disturbance, not her. And you'll see this every single time. So there really is no problem with anything, except that you have this tendency to need to touch, to go out there. I told you, if somebody hits a hammer on your toe, where does your consciousness go? Why? That's the last place you want it. Why does all the awareness go down to the toe? Why does the awareness go out toward the person who's looking? Why does it go out toward the sound? I wonder if you know the answer to that. If you meditate and contemplate and just watch long enough, you'll see. You want to know why? Fear. That's a true statement. Always. It is always fear. It is a primal fear. It's the same reason that the deer run away when they hear you. It is a deep, 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 right back where the soul touches body. That lost consciousness is scared to death. It has lost itself. It is disoriented. And therefore, it's jumpy. How's that? And so everything that happens, every change, it goes out toward as an act of protecting itself. It is actually an act of control. Can you relate to that? If you was a dark room and all of a sudden you heard a noise and you were walking around a dark room and you heard a noise, you know what you'd do? You'd put your arms out like that. You can't see anything, but you'd protect yourself. That's what the consciousness is doing. It is attempting to go out toward the object so the object doesn't come in toward it before it protected itself. Can you see that? Can you feel that? All right? That's what's happening. That's what's creating the whole mess. That's what's creating all the thoughts. That's what's creating all the emotions. That's what's creating all the disturbance. And that's why it's out of your control. Because it is so deep-seated and it is so habitual. It's like my telling you, let me stick my fingers towards your eyes, but don't blink. It's very hard, isn't it? It's very hard to not protect. All right? This is the subtlest of the cause of all defensiveness, of all protection, is that the moment anything comes near your consciousness, like radar, it goes out toward it. Why? Billions of events take place every day, trillions, zillions all over the planet. They don't hurt you. They don't do anything to you. If you want, you can just sit there and be conscious. The fact that they happen to be happening around you doesn't change anything. And so eventually you work with the self, which is the true spiritual work. You just keep letting go of the tendency to go out toward things. You don't renounce things. There's nothing wrong with things. You permit the dance of the world to take place. You don't control your thoughts. There's nothing wrong with those. You don't control your emotions. You just be aware of this tendency to control them, the tendency to go out toward them. If you meditate, you can be conscious enough so the moment it starts to go out toward it, don't pull it back, because that will create tension. Let go. Let the part that went out go out. Just let go of that part. It's almost as if it's trying to connect from the consciousness out to the sound. Let's take the sound, right? It's trying to go like that. If when it goes out you try to pull it back, you will create pain and tension inside of you. You'll feel that. If, on the other hand, you let it go out, it will pull you with it and it will create disturbance. So what do? The moment you catch that it's going out, almost like snip that part off. Don't use your mind. Just let go. Just drop it. Drop it. And what will happen is the rest will come back and that will go out. Don't worry, there's plenty of it. You're not wasting it. But the fact that it's no longer connected, it's like a little bubble. It just goes out there and disperses. It doesn't matter. This is what letting go is. We use the word all the time. This is the core of letting go. Don't let go of people. Please. Don't let go of people. Don't let go of places. Don't let go of your children. Don't let go of love. Don't let go of anything. Let go of your tendency to go out toward these things in an attempt to control and manipulate and protect. Because I'm telling you, there's nothing to protect. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can hurt you. Nothing can reach the self. The self is capable of sitting in itself and experiencing everything at peace, serene, content. The experience of self is higher than any other experience you can get from this world anyways. That's a whole other discussion. That the fact that the only beauty that is in this world is the self. And it's just reflecting back, all right? It's like the only moments that you say are worth happening are the ones where you didn't go out. You managed to remain in, and therefore the experience took you back to the self, and then you said it was a beautiful experience. No. The experience of self is a beautiful experience. You just happened to manage to stay there while this other thing was happening. And eventually you will catch on that if you just keep letting go of the tendency to go out toward things and permit them to come and go through you, around you, past you, that everything will come into the Tao. That's what the Tao is. Where you're not there touching. What is left when you're no longer creating the disturbances is what Lao Tzu meant by the Tao. It just all comes and goes through time and space. And you remain peaceful, calm, serene, contented. And everything is for the highest. Because it's all free to do its flow, its balancing act, its equilibrium. When you send your energy out to touch it, it is actually you who's disturbing it. And then you think you have to fix it. So you really get yourself in a fix. All right? There's that beautiful, I'll leave you with a beautiful vision that they use in all deep spiritual teachings of the still water that gets a ripple in it. Well, we don't want a ripple, do we? Well, we better get it out. Let's smooth it out with our hands. Let's jump in and stop it where it's like anything you do will make more ripples. The only thing that will make less ripples is permitting the ripple to run its course and you remaining calm about the ripple. The ripple will go away, won't it? That is true of everything in this world. That is true of every problem you have. There's nothing you can do with your problems but make them worse. Because there are no problems. There's only something you went out and touched and defined as a problem. Otherwise, you are aware of the unfolding of the universe. You can do that. It is not renunciation, and it is not controlling or taking. It is just remaining in the seat of conscious awareness and permitting creation to pass through you, in you, around you. You're fully participating in it, but you are neither there nor not there. These are very, very, very deep states. It is the true deep state of Zen. It is the true state of yoga. It is the true state of the Tao. It is real. That state exists. It is the state of realization. It is the realization of who you are. So, this is the essence of spirituality. Spirit is the essence of spirituality. Work with these things. Chakradev.